Not I.
You're supposed to use the gavel.
Pay attention, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. So you stand for the pledge of allegiance and then remain standing for Pastor Bassi lead us in prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us all take a moment, bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come together to thank you for the bountiful blessings that you have placed upon this village and this community and all the people around. Through all trials and tribulations, we show our love for you by coming together and our love for each other and love for community and making sure that all those that really need your love and our love receive it. But Lord, we ask that you fill your spirit with this place and rest upon the hearts and the minds of those people that are making the difficult decisions to ensure that our community can blossom and grow, and that everything we do can be raised up for your glory and the glory of the salvation brought through your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. And in his holy name, we give praise and thanks. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Roll call. Lisa.
James Dyson,
Present.
Mike Gunner,
Present.
Wendy here, Bill Brickmaker,
Here.
Jerry Hayes,
Here.
Eric Rogers,
Here.
Keith Blatter,
Present. All right, I'll entertain a motion for the minutes of July 24th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 24th, 2023 meeting as presented.
Support. Moved and supported. Thank you. Lisa again.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen. Yes. Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes, thank you. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Martis, our county commissioner.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for giving me a few minutes, trying to give you a quick update. One of the big things we worked on in the last month, well, it's actually been about a year now, is the county commission compensation study, because we're going into contract negotiations with all of our unions. I think our folks are represented by 9 different bargaining units. The compensation study answered the question, what do we need to do to adjust our pay for all these classifications of employment to come on to par with similar institutions? In general, it's about 4.5% across the board if you average it, but of course it varies position by position. But the question that I asked was, if this brings us up to par with these other entities, are they not still having problems at that higher pay, attracting and retaining help? And they are. So it's going to be, I think, a minimum, not a maximum. Some units are not happy because it suggested that they were already well paid, and others, of course, are substantially underpaid. So it's going to be an interesting fall season. I'm not in the negotiating committee, but it will be, right now, it's just coming up to par, would be about a $900,000 a year increase in wages and compensation. The good thing is that our compensation for our employees is among the highest in the area, like 47.5% of pay, which is good. My attitude, and I'm always open to input from you guys, is I want to see us attracting and retaining high quality people, because the people that interact with our county government are talking to people, and they want to meet good people and people that are content and happy to continue to do the job. And we're blessed with a lot of great employees at the county, but that will be an interesting cycle here. And frankly, and I've said this a number of times, I'd rather see money wrapped up in our health than laying around waiting for the next Project Phoenix. Early voting. Roxanne Holloway asked for $150,000 of additional funding to help facilitate early voting. The county is going to make that available. Sounds like they've met with all the other units of government in the county, and the consensus is the early voting they would like to have happen in Adrian. She also asked that we reclassify some employees of hers to help make that process easier, and she had unanimous support. In fact, Commissioner Collins said it well when he said, the one thing we know is that Roxanne asked for something, it needs to be done, and you can trust her. And so that's a great testimony to her commitment to our community. And back to the products. It's the gift that keeps on giving. We found out last month that there was 3,500 yards of debris on site that EGLE had already ordered us to remove several years ago. We were under order to remove it by September 1st, would be fine. So we've spent another $195,000 removing that debris. That does not remove any of the structure, doesn't remove any of the water tower and those kinds of things. So we're well over $2.5 million on that property, which is why I brought to you the letter. And I just wanted you guys to have that for your record. I'm not going to offer a lot of comment on it, but we do have what I think is a competent buyer for the property. He processes steel, turns it into steel tubing. Would start out, I think, with 25 to 50 employees and a minimum pay of $25 an hour. Of course, I've been around this long enough to know that I take every developer's claims with a grain of salt, yet the guy seems credible and he has a good track record in the past. I developed a good relationship with him. Initial response from the company and public meetings whether it meets our zoning, it's zoned I-1 industrial. That seems to be good, but now you see the letter in front of you, they've obviously changed their tone. So it certainly complicates things. So I won't offer any more public comment on that part of it because I don't want to complicate anything, but that's where we're at right now. My gut feeling is if we don't sell this property to this individual or somebody else very soon, we will continue to pay to remediate that site as the building continues to decompose ever faster. So that's where my thoughts are on that. And one last thing, it was in my last update, and I will get another email update out to everybody. We still have our next district roundtable meeting set for September 26th. I'd asked Britain to host it a month or two ago. They wanted to think about it. So they've not yet given me an answer. So I think we're going to move that to Deerfield Township. They're open to having us come there. Our guests will be Pat Farber and Tim Robinson from Lenawee Now. A lot of townships are wondering what their services are and what they offer. And so they will be there to talk about those things that they can do for your community. Of course, I was very upset that we did not resume and restore funding for Lenawee Now, wanting a forensic audit and so forth. But Lenawee Now has received another $10 million grant, I think state and or federal, and neither entity required a forensic audit to release that money for what it's worth. So, any questions? I know I said a lot.
Go ahead, Gary. In your compensation study that you guys did you compare, what was the criteria that you compared against?
Well, we hired a firm out of California and I think the administrator helped offer various comparable communities, and it wasn't just Oakville. So Monroe County is part of it. They looked at Washington, Lucas, Hillsdale. They also looked at some nonprofit places of employment like the University of Michigan. Now how you adjust from one to the other, I don't know. But I did send the study to a CPA and who was a former industrialist in the county and asked him to review it. I don't just take my own advice on these things. He felt it was a very competent study and did a good job of answering the questions asked. But I did ask the consultant, does this answer us how much we need to raise pay to fix our, we have department heads coming regularly complaining about inability to retain staff. And they said, no, that's not something we can answer here. But the truth is, talking to some of these folks, they already know. I mean, if somebody leaves Jenny Escott's employee to go into the private sector, she already knows how much more they were offered per hour. I mean, it's not that complicated. But anyways,
How many employees at the county level?
over 500 on the road commission are not our employees, just, you know, those are legally distinct entities.
Okay.
If you were wondering, a lot of people confuse.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I was gonna say, what are the departments of the employees? Because
Well, various departments.
yeah, I mean, can you give a.
Well, sure. I mean, for instance, we own Lenawee Medical. We own that facility. We don't employ those people. That's now a separate entity, but that's one unit. Maurice Spears campus. Then of course we have buildings and grounds. We have, you know,
And those people.
drain commission.
are
We have,
clear.
yeah, and those are all our employees, all the various Department of Health and Health Department, which is distinct. I'm learning from the Department of Health and Human Services because one's a state and federal entity. Use our building, but they don't control our health department, which is another entity. So, but yeah, there's a lot of subunits of government. Mhm. Anything else?
I was just gonna ask how things were going down at the elevator. Have you been in touch with the county or the railroad about any closures? Cause I've been by there a couple times, seen one massive grain train and everything was open, so.
Right now, they have not increased. Are you all familiar with what Jerry's asking about? You saw my letter that, and so I did mail that out to 150 people in Riga Townships who I felt most likely to be affected. They have not increased the train length to 105 cars yet. So the last one was 85 cars, which would be everything they've been dealing with for a long time.
Good deal.
So that change is coming. Out of the 150 letters and the emails and stuff I sent out, I only got 2 or 3 comments back. And one was not nearby, one was nearby. And I just emphasized to them again, I have no authority over what happens there. The townships have no authority, but we're blessed, as Blissfield knows better than most, to have a new management at the Adrian and Blissfield Railroad who proactively came to us to try and make sure everybody's aware and in the loop, and this is as good a compromise as we could find. So far, not been an issue with the government. It assures me that they will monitor it. If it becomes a problem, we'll look at additional solutions.
Thank you.
You heard this before, Kevin, I know, but thank you very much for your updates. They really are appreciated when you send them to us.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you for visiting us as well.
Yes, appreciate it. Well, I appreciate your service. Anything else?
No.
Thanks, folks. Have a good evening.
You as well. Thank you, sir. Enjoy the rest of your summer. All right, sticking with presentations and communications, do we need a vote to open?
Yes.
All right, so I don't have to do a roll call, is that correct?
You can just a motion and a second, and then you can do all in favor.
Okay, so entertain a motion to open the public hearing regarding amending chapter 150 water supply and sewage disposal system.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on amendment of the ordinance chapter 150 water supply and sewage disposal system.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, open hearing can commence. Any public comment regarding? None. Does council have the ability to make comment at this time?
Yeah, I mean.
It's open, right?
It's public comment,
Sure.
yeah, anybody could.
Does any comments from council? No. I guess I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing then.
Yes.
I'll make a motion then to close the public hearing on the amendment of chapter 150 water supply and sewage disposal system.
I'll support.
Moved and supported. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it closed. All right, so we can move on to tonight's agenda then.
Move to approve the agenda for a second.
Glenn? Support. Moved and supported. Any amendments to propose? None. Lisa, if you will.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes. Thank you. I will now open the floor to any public comment. Yep. Come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Carl Harbeck, I live at 402 East Jefferson Street. Few of you know me here today, so hi again. Hi again to James.
Hi, how are you?
Last week or so, I was at the Ellis Park and I crossed over the bridge with my granddaughter, and I saw that the handrails were in bad shape. And I'm thinking, well, they're gonna spend $16,000 in painting this. Perhaps we should fix the handrails. Well, I went back last Tuesday and I walked on the bridge and I was totally thrilled. And all the handrails have been all replaced with womanized, I think you call it still, treated lumber, beautiful. And I want to thank whoever's idea that was and who did it, because exactly the first thing I was going to bring up today. So it's all done. It's beautiful. It's great now. So it can be painted. I don't know if we paint over treated lumber anymore. I mean, do we do that? Is it okay to do that? Because I know in the past it was years ago there was a comment about painting over treated lumber. I don't know.
I believe it's gonna get painted.
Okay.
DPW is pretty well informed
Okay.
on how the treatment goes. And there are additional treatments or plans for that bridge, right? There's some roofing to go on the top. I don't wanna call it roofing, but I guess that's what it is.
How did it go about, Danielle? The, was because of
It was DPW that did that, so DP,
from a concern?
yes, we knew that it needed to be replaced. And they wanted to wait until right before it was painted to make sure that the new handrail was painted and taken care of. So that was Brent over at DPW and the guys that work for him, so
I'll
we'll
call
be
him
sure.
back, yeah, because I was so thrilled, you know, it's like beautiful. One more thing I don't have to bring up.
I like donuts, I like donuts at the thing.
Secondly, is ordinances with tall grass and stuff. We've got some problems in this town. And I've been talking to Stacy. She may not be totally happy with me at this point, but 404, I think it's West Adrian Street. We didn't nail that place because I'm sick of looking at it. I brought it up with her a while ago and
That's the place with the lawnmower, though.
right to the front porch,
Yeah.
right? But somebody explained to me what was going on with that house, you know, and the problems behind it. But it still needs to be upkept. And when I brought it up, the next day somebody mowed it, but it hasn't been mowed. So in 5 months, it's only been mowed once. And now I went over there the other day. I parked the parking boy and walked over there. I was appalled, you know, and there's no excuse for that. So I'm asking that, you know, we can urge, you know, whoever can get involved with that, whether it's Stacy or somebody else. She said that the paperwork's going on the process, so once it's dealt with, I hope we can keep it up. Right now, Blissfield has a weed ordinance 12 inches, and I've looked at other towns and villages. Most of them are either 6 or 8. There's a couple, I think Riga is 12 also, I think. But 12 seems to be a bit high for me. Somebody said that the ordinances are now being looked at, and now's the time for you to bring it up, maybe, if we can bring it down to at least 8. You know, because 12 is too high. And we've had other problems around town, and both Stacy, they're all taken care of, but we have 404. There's one more, but I'll deal with that, you know, anyway. So, but 404 is just an eyesore. People coming through our town see all this stuff, you know, and get on the same plane, putting out brush. Can anybody tell me when we're supposed to be able to put brush out? Because nobody seems to know. I've asked you.
Second and fourth Tuesday.
Well, I know that, but I mean, when can they start putting it out? I don't know if there's anything set in the ordinance. Is it Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday?
I never think it's the, you know. the
Next day after they pick it up.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's what
Goes out
irritates
every
me.
2 weeks.
Because people come through our town and they put it out the next day after it's picked up, and it's like, come on, people, stack in your backyard the way I do and others do until, usually I put mine out Monday night, you know, because I don't want our town looking like, you know, junk pile. This is my town, our town, so mine stays in the backyard and then I put it out Monday night. You know, maybe Sunday if I'm trimming trees, I, you know, got a lot of it. Other than that though, but anyway, so, do we know? What?
24-hour, but I could be wrong. I read that bit recently, but
It used to be Friday, I was told years ago it's Friday, but then saying, well, I think it's Thursday, and I asked here
The weekend before,
the weekend before, so I'd be like,
yeah,
okay.
which is the way the ordinance is written,
Oh,
so the weekend before pickup.
it'd be like Saturday, Sunday, or
I would say Friday's the weekend as well, but I don't know how that was written, but.
but
Yeah,
I just thought I'd ask. So, anyway, one more problem that I brought up with years ago, and I'll bring this up and then one more small thing, you know, anyway, but this is a major problem that I brought up with Sergeant Wagner. Is he still a sergeant or?
Lieutenant.
Okay, because I talked to him the other day anyway, but our 4-way stops are really dangerous. In fact, I live at the corner of Jefferson and Jefferson. I brought this up with Sergeant Wagner years ago. I said, man, nobody's stopping at these stop signs, and some people are flying through doing 40 miles an hour down there. And he said, you're right, Carl. He said, there are 2 really bad 4-way stops, as James knows, Jefferson and Jefferson and Lane Street. That's what he told me 5-6 years ago when I brought it up. I don't know how to stop everybody from running a stop sign, but perhaps law enforcement could go there once in a while, at least set far enough back where they can't be seen, because in the past years, once in a while they'll go there and sit, but they sit too close to the corner and people see them. Well, maybe you should back off or park like on Cherry Street, you know, and watch from there, kind of be sneaky because it's bad. It's a rare occasion to see anybody stop. So anyway, I'll leave that at that. And we've had some near misses, all my neighbors, when I was sitting in my front porch or in their yard, oh, almost got them, you know, so it's a serious problem. And one more last small thing, I was walking around Ellis Park and Bachmeyer was over by the pool, and that wading pool is a cesspool of filth. I mean, it is really bad, so if there's some way we can drain it, you know, I mean, I'm retired as of Friday, and once it's drained, every time it rains, I'll be glad to go over there with a cup or a bucket and clean it out, you know, to clean water, but right now, I wouldn't go near that, it's a cesspool, it's bad.
I walked by there today, as a matter of
Did you
fact.
say it?
I went, holy moly, yeah.
That's what I said. The actual pool, I think, is empty,
But the wading
but
pool.
the
is
wading
very
pool
bad.
is like a cesspool, and I don't know if a frog would live in it, it's so bad, you know, to be honest, but anyway. But anyway,
I didn't hear any croaking, but.
no, me either, you know, the frogs probably croaked, they popped an end in, you know, so. Anyway, sorry. But anyway, so, I'll stop there, but, you know.
Don't feel bad about making these comments.
Oh, no,
Good, okay,
No, I
so
don't.
you don't feel like you're rushing or anything because
but I don't want to go on and on and on,
No,
because, you know, we've got
you make,
things, you know.
We have a lot of the same concerns.
we have a lot of same
Okay.
concern, but it's important to hear. I mean, you know, you validate everything that we think we know, but it's nice to hear, you know, confirmation saying, hey, I noticed this, I noticed this, and to bring it up for discussion, absolutely.
I can bring up one more thing. East end of town where the road narrows to the right. Okay, and we used to only have 2 signs, and years ago when I worked third shift, this is quite a few years ago, I talked to Sergeant Wagner, nice guy, and I said, you know, that's getting to be a real serious problem there. Well, I came home in the morning, I was working third shift around 7:30, and I heard the screeching and slam bang, and I went, oh no, what happened? I went over there. Wagner was already there, and I walked over and I looked at him, I said, ugh, this is what we're talking about. People were not moving over, and it was a big flatbed tractor trailer. The chief, I think, was our chief then, and it was a mess, and they were hauling people off to the hospital. A big truck did not go over, I think, it hit the car anyway, but people were hauling off to the hospital. So anyway, I contacted MDOT back then, and I got them to add 2 more signs. I'm sure that they contacted the village too, not just me. But I called them and said, we need help. And I still think we need more. There's now 4 signs, so people don't have an excuse not to move over. We have the same thing in Adrian on M52 going into downtown, to merge right. Everybody's seeing it to merge right. Tecumseh on the west end, they got the same thing. People seeing it, but in Blissfield, it's like they're like side to side, and they're gonna battle to see who's gonna, it's like, oh, vote first. You got 4 signs, you know, it drives me nuts anyway. But the very first sign, and I brought it up years ago with MDOT, the sign says, lane ends merge right, but there's a big spot on top that maybe, you know, that they should have added left lane ends. It says lane ends merge, and people say lane ends and they move over to the left lane because it's kind of normal to do. So we put left there. The other thing we should possibly do, I can call them if you want, because I got the phone numbers. I can call up there and find out. But anyway, I think maybe to help out, we can have the big white arrows point. Maybe you put merge right with the big arrows that other towns have. We got to do something, because I'm really worried about accidents. I hear screeching tires and honking horns a lot because I live right there at Jefferson and Gypsum. So that's something else I'm worried about, because I remember years ago seeing that mess, and it was scattered all over the place. And,
Yeah, I think the same thing happens on the west end of town as well.
oh, really?
Go from 2 to 1.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately.
But those are the good suggestions. I take it all the time as I head east. And
How much control do we have, or how much input do we have over?
but the arrows are a great idea. I like
I mean,
that.
we can ask.
Other towns have that,
Yeah,
the big arrows, and sometimes they have merge right on the pavement as you're driving, merge right, and maybe that'll help, I don't know.
And your signage for love lane ends instead of just lane ends.
It says lane ends,
Right, but
merge
it-
right,
but-
and there's a big spot there for the word left, so
Yeah.
there's room for it, so
Great suggestion.
MDOT can do that, you know.
All right.
We can ask them ultimately.
Right, it's their
MDOT
decision.
can say, great suggestion, not do it, but we can definitely reach out to them and let them know that that's something we're interested in seeing.
Please feel free to reach out as well, and thank you for your comments tonight, we'll take those into consideration. We are working on a number of these issues, but some of them are just slower than.
I'll back you up, you know, I'm all for law enforcement, you know, I've always backed up our officers and I've told them, you know, if I'm going down the road and they've got somebody stopped there and getting beat up, I'm coming back to help them. And they said, well, first call 911 and then come help them. Okay, I'll do that. But, you know,
Well, hopefully you don't come across.
they need to back up, so I back them up totally, you know. So I will shut up now.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
thank you very much.
I have a question. Since he brought up signs, how can we get a speed limit sign on Sherman Street?
On which street?
Sherman. I realize it's truck lane, that's not an issue. The trucks coming out of Riverbend or Hope and Encouragement for Humanity or anything like that. It's people that think that this is a side street. And they zoom down there. Mrs. Wazinski wrote a letter a while ago that Bob read. And the guys coming out of Riverbend and, you know, zooming down there. But they think it's a through street. And I sit on my porch and the average speed on that street, I swear to God, is at least 35, if not 40. And when I back out of my driveway, I live 4 houses down from the corner. It's all clear and I'm backing out of my driveway. All of a sudden, the car comes around the corner. And they lay on the horn like, no, I didn't do anything wrong, you did, you're speeding. But I would really like to have. And I. With the residents' permission, I have the absolutely perfect spot. It's wide open, everybody would see it. But that's the village, correct? That has nothing to do with MDOT.
Correct.
Because I know there's other, you know, like Lane Street, different, they have that, but.
Yeah, only the 223 corridors.
All right, I know, but I mean, the speed limit sign.
There's no sign on
Lane.
that.
Huh?
There's no sign on that road.
Nope.
So it's 25 unless posted
Unless posted,
otherwise, so
right.
it's 25 miles per
It's
hour.
25,
It's enforceable
Yeah,
with or
and I
without that
said
sign.
something to a couple of people and they, well, I never see anybody. So, because there's no kid playing out in the street or nobody out in the yard that you can go 40 miles an hour down that street? I don't think so.
I'm just not sure a sign is the going to.
Well, it would maybe make them more aware. Personally, and like I said, I have a neighbor that parks this far in front of his house from my driveway. And my neighbor across the street, they always have a vehicle parked on the street. So, but so many times I've backed out of the driveway looking, and here comes somebody around that corner. And I just wish we could maybe do even. Don't we have one of those red flashing ones or the ones that wouldn't that be nice, at least for a while, like they do in Savannah, your speed is this, and just slow it down.
Affordable signs.
Huh, yeah, portable sign. But, and I know that there's a 223 is terrible. A racetrack, that's why there's so many issues.
Well, I think the DDA is working on a road diet, but that is
Well, I heard
years,
some
years.
officers say that that's a terrible idea. I'll tell you where you need to park. You
What
park
did
right
we say?
onto Riverbend where you're stopped to turn left to go to TLC. There's so many cars that will pass you on the right. Yeah,
We'll have Chief look into maybe a solution for Sherman Street.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
even
comment.
if you took your blades out there, just leave it parked there.
For the record, we made 108 stops in the last 30 days.
That's fantastic.
Sherman Street? No.
You know what problem
Let me say this, since there's been a lot of comments about this. We have focused a lot on the merge at the east end of town. I have personally written probably 8 or 9 tickets in the last 30 days. One of them was came around a vehicle passing on the right, going almost 60 miles an hour. We had another one, they were battling for first place to get to the merge. And, you know, the idea of putting in markers or anything else, I don't think it's gonna have the desired impact. A lot of times, what we're gonna see is, that's nothing more than a gauge for them to see how far they've got till they can get in front of the other car.
Could be it.
Especially during rush hour in the afternoon. As we all know, coming out of Adrian, you've got the 4 lanes up other side of Palmyra. This is the last 4 lanes before you get to 23. And it literally becomes the Indy 500 coming through Blissfield. So we have focused a lot of attention out on the east end of town because we have had accidents there. I wrote a ticket earlier this summer for a vehicle that failed to yield right away to a vehicle that was trying to merge over with a trailer. And then he wanted to report the other guy for being at fault for the crash. Well, no, you know, so we're seeing that road rage type stuff and we're focused on it. I've been over on Sherman a few times. Sherman is unique because we know it's that traffic coming out of the industrial park in the afternoon hours. So unless we're over there within that time frame where they're getting off work, I've sat over there before for 20-25 minutes and not a single car came on the street because I wasn't there at the right time.
Yes.
So it's trying to time that, plus everything that we got going on with, we're getting a lot of financial crimes investigations right now. Those are very complex and very time consuming. We're talking multiple search warrants and it takes time to write that stuff up, to run it up there, have it reviewed by prosecutor, then have a judge review it. So we do our hands, so we're trying to balance the traffic enforcement with the criminal
Pretty soon you're
investigations
gonna
that
be
we
short
have.
an officer when school starts.
Yeah, I'm already short of an officer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you know, we are focused and we are making stops. We can't, obviously, we can't be everywhere. As far as Jefferson and Gibson, I've sat over there before. You can't sit so far back that you can't see the stop sign. I have to be able to testify that I saw the person roll the stop.
Okay.
In order to say that, I gotta be able to see the stop sign. So if I sit too far back, I can't see the stop sign, especially if there's cars parked between me and the intersection. So, you know, those things, we have to factor that in. And, you know, so it does
Well,
take.
yeah, that's a hazard, but I think the
And we
speed-
used to have a speed sign, but it broke years ago and we haven't done
The
one yet to
speeding
replace
on
it.
223 through Blissfield is probably the worst issue that we face.
Yeah.
The speeding trucks.
Chief, is it legal for an officer to sit in someone's driveway?
If they give us permission.
I walk that intersection. I walk that intersection every morning. Very seldom does the vehicle come to a stop on Gibson and Jefferson. That's best, it's a rolling stop. Some of them don't even roll stop.
But like Mr. Harvard.
What he was saying is
What he
true.
said,
I
and if I sit close enough to see the stop sign, then they see me and they're stopping. So, yeah, I get what he's saying. And I've been out there, because we talked before, and I've gone out there. And it's a double-edged sword. If I sit so far back, I can't see the stop sign, I can't write a ticket. And if I sit so close that I can see it, then you can see me, they stop.
You can use my driveway anytime you want.
Fair enough.
If you're not gonna door, I'll back my van up, I'll put it across the street, you can try to service it, I'm there to help you guys. Okay, anytime you want, knock the door. I'm retired now.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for all the input. We're gonna move on to unfinished business. Unfinished business, action item number 1, approve the change order for wastewater treatment plant number 25. And I'll make a motion to remove from the table, approve change order wastewater treatment plant number 25 for consideration. And support it, Lisa, if you will.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jane.
Yes, thank you. Danielle, do you want to give us a brief recap, as it's been a number of weeks?
Yes, so we had tabled this item because council had asked me to bring back the exact amount for retainage that would be remaining.
Right.
Because of the rules, the way that USDA is written, we can only withhold 250% of remaining items. So it is a little bit further in the agenda as an action item as well, but we do have 2 pending pay applications right now. They are still working on some few punch list items, but the remaining retainage that is allowed under the USDA contract right now is $182,000, $182,560.75, which is just a little bit over 2% of the total project. But if you guys have questions, again, just to kind of re-summarize, this change order is for time only at this point. It would extend the time to June 20th. Right, June 26th. 22nd, thank you, which takes us to substantial completion. And the main reason for this extension is right now USDA is unable to process any applications for payment because we're outside of that contract time. If you have questions, let me know.
If not, I'd entertain a motion to
Well,
approve.
yeah, because that would potentially pay them out, right? And we're still litigating or potentially litigating or mediating on final costs to this project. So again, what that does, that allows them to say the project's complete, it can be paid out, correct? Do we not want to, then we not discuss potentially holding it, or can we hold some of that retainage until we come to an agreement or immediate, or we want to discuss it when we're talking about the final cost of the project?
We cannot hold retainage above what the USDA contract allows, which we, based on the remaining work, is that 182,000.
I don't want to be in the pool situation again. And if we have the power to hold some of the payment in our purse, that gives us a little bit more standing when we meet to mediate. Again, the project wasn't completed in the right time or in the time dedicated. You know, they're talking about overheads and upwards of $1 million that they think that we owe them. I don't want to see them paid out and then it comes back to us when we're going to have to pay out a big another chunk of change. That's not fair to the village, it's not fair to us. Again, we need to have our stuff together, our ducks in a row.
This is not part of the project, right? This is part of the project scope. This is not above and beyond.
It's still a retainage and until the project is complete and we mediate until we agree to close the project, I think we have all the authority to hold everything.
Is that gonna negatively impact us somehow when we get to mediation? By holding this retaining? I don't know.
Which was part of the discussion.
I mean, there's really no update on this either, because, you know, this is, I think, the second time somebody tabled something tomorrow. There's literally no new information that's been presented, so we really, what are we acting on? I mean, there's nothing in front of us that's different.
Well, we do have the number now, the 182, which is what was an unknown last time. Which is the maximum amount we can withhold per the contract.
Correct.
Now, it's my understanding, this just
No, so-
approves the time, it does not approve the payment, which is further in the agenda.
Correct. And that is correct, James. I was gonna bring that up. The other thing, we talked about it the last time. So your options with this extension of time, we can extend time, which then would allow us to process any payouts with USDA on this project, or you cannot grant the time extension, which does a couple things. One, we can't process payouts with USDA, and two, it would kick us into being required for our agreement with USDA to start assessing liquidated damages, which is $1,000 per day for every day past project completion that the contractor is not done. And we did talk about the last time that right now, the liquidated damages are a tool for us to go back on the contractor who says that we owe them 1.1, and we can instantly say, okay, however, we granted you have liquidated damages in this amount. If you guys approve this, we still have that to go back on because we have granted numerous time extensions, and if we go all the way back to the beginning, and I calculated this for you guys once, I can resend it, but I want to say it was like $280,000 in liquidated damages that we can assess. So regardless if you guys approve this, we always have that kind of in our back pocket that, hey, if we would have not worked with you guys and granted these extensions, you would have been paying us LDs every single day until this is complete, which again, they still have punch list items. They need to paint. There's a mixer issue, which is under warranty that they're working through right now. Very minor things, like as far as those two. And then we did fail the electrical inspection with the state, and we're working through that right now. And then there is some documents. They've provided most of them. There's a couple they're still gathering as far as warranties. And then I think those are the big things. There might be, I think there's a couple bolts they had to change out, some very minor things.
Yeah, so all things, in just this is my opinion, all things being equal, we continue to be the good stewards. We still have a fallback plan with the $1,000 a day. But all this really does is allow us to continue to sort of shine the halo above our heads. I have no problems with this. I think, to your point, Mike, I think at some point it's gonna be litigated anyways, so.
And right now we're
looked at it
looking,
most favorable light possible.
and right now we're looking at not even going to mediation until January, February timeframe based on schedules. So I do tend to agree with James on this. I think that we've already started down the path. We're not paying them we've not agreed to pay them additional. This is all part of their initial contract, which right now it's just the time extension, and we can talk about the payoffs more as well, but and if you guys have questions or anything regarding those, we can try to address them, but I do think that that seems to be the most logical way to move forward. I definitely think we need to keep in mind, though, that we could have said no and charged these liquidated damages, which is another thing that when we do go to mediation and we talk to them, we need to make sure that that's identified yet again. I know we already have, but we have continued, or we have so far, and I've gone out of our way to try to be good partners and work with them, get this project done,
I
which
agree.
is super frustrating.
And up to the point where we had our committee that said, let's be fair across the board, we'll pay for the project, we'll pay for the services that you provided, and the things that you did, but we're not gonna pay for things that weren't approved. That was my good faith effort to be the better man, or whatever. But my point now is, if we close it out, they get paid out, but then we're still arguing back and forth. Well, yeah, we could have assessed those damages since the project wasn't completed. But should we have, as our legal advised us to do that? Have they told us, well, maybe we should hold some back? Again, I'm just trying to tread lightly. I'm trying to be cautious. I don't want to be walked on, and I don't want this company to think that we're just gonna bend over backwards. I also here to, protect the taxpayer, because we're all those too, and I don't want to just set us up for failure. I want to make sure that our legal team, our legal representatives know exactly what we're doing and give us the insight on that. And I'm just frustrated that we haven't got anything, like literally this is the same information that we had in front of us at the last council meeting with no update. So it makes it very hard to make a decision without this information in front of us beforehand to know what we're looking at.
This is for a time extension only, correct? Correct. Does not affect any dollar amounts. Just says that we approve the time extension to June 22nd.
Correct.
Well, if we don't approve it, then we cannot applied payment. So it does have a financial impact. Right, pay at 27, pay at 28, essentially are like
Or if you approve them, we will pay for them and not get reimbursed by you
USDA.
until we assess liquidated damages or extend the time.
And that's we have coming up for item number 7, correct?
Correct. So that's the other, we can say, we're not giving you more time. And then what we will do is we'll go back, so the final date was April 30th, so from May 1. They'll be charged $1,000 a day, so we would invoice that out to them if you guys don't approve this time extension. We would provide a copy of that to USDA, who then would process a pay app. So you have 2 ways to get the pay app processed. Or potentially they may deduct that amount and not 100%. USDA might say, okay, but they owe you this much, so this is what we're gonna pay on the pay app. And then, of course, that will be brought up in mediation and potentially litigation. Which is where I think we'll probably go in.
Yeah. You're correct on that. You know, pay out 27 and pay out 28, they are part of the scope of the project. I think we can agree on that. They're not above and beyond. It does get us closer to having an operating wastewater treatment plant. Just because we're under the threat of litigation does not mean we're going to litigation either. We have to also take that into consideration. But I think the chances are better than not, but who knows?
I mean, if you're guaranteeing that we can say we authorize the time extension, we can go back and say, well, you should have paid us this over that period of time, rather than just saying, okay, have at it. I mean, that's my fear. It gives us literally nothing to stand on. Because we ultimately gave them the approval to have the time extension without saying we want to recoup the damages. Probably gonna get out.
Oh, it's. What do you mean? Probably going to.
And Mike, I want to make sure that, so if you guys approve this, we cannot go back later and say, okay, now we're going to assess you liquidated damages. But for sure, 100%, we can say, we gave you a time extension instead of assessing liquidated damages, which could have equal or would have equaled X amount of dollars. If that makes sense. So I do not want anybody here to think if you guys approve this, that then we can say, okay, well, we're gonna charge you all these back to May 1st. Because like Mike said, you approved the time extension, but we definitely have the ability to say, we approved time extension 1, 2, and 3. And if you total what you would have paid in liquidated damages, it's this amount, which will be brought up and talk about in mediation. And this is, the attorneys all know, or have been on board with this and have been part of the communication. And I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen. I cannot tell you in litigation. I can tell you, I feel very strongly that they're not entitled to a penny more than what is in the pay apps in the contract. But outside of that, until we go to court or mediation, we won't know.
So I think with Mike's question about the not seeing anything new, I hear where he's coming from, looking for something different there. But I'm also hearing you say, Danielle, that the attorneys are okay with this recommended motion, that they're knowledgeable about it, they're saying that this is okay to do, so they have given their blessing, for lack of better words, for this recommended motion, as well as for the pay apps for 27 and 28.
The attorneys have not looked at pay apps 27 and 28,
Okay,
because that is
so that's actually part of the,
part of the project, there's nothing.
so that they would not have had to look at, but they would have had to look at the
The previous extensions.
previous extension, that's what they
Yeah.
said. So they hope, they looked at that, they know what's going on, it's been part of the case. Again, for lack of better words, this is, they're okay with this. What we're going to do, what you're presenting.
Yes, and I think if the attorneys are okay either way.
But
Would
you're
be
saying we
fair,
have to
because-
approve that extension in order to give them pay apps 27 or something.
Or assess all these.
Why would we not assess it? I mean, we can pay them, but we should assess how these, at least that gives us some leg to stand on. I mean. Right now, we're pretty much doing this in faith as we go through what is recommended.
Well, when the contract was established, the retainage is what's supposed to protect it. Right, and then this is territory that you probably don't want to get to as far as contracts go. So, but here we are. So now we have, and now we're under the threat of litigation, of the threat of being sued, so. What's the stance we want to take? Do we want to penalize them? Do we want to be good stewards?
I don't want to be taken advantage of.
Oh, I agree, but. I don't know how we pay apps 27 and 28 from our general fund or our water sewer fund. We don't have that type of money,
It'd be from our sewer fund.
right?
If we pay the 426, we still have the 182, 182,000.
Correct, you would have left in retainage $182,560.
After those,
After if these two payments were approved with the time extension, that is the amount that we would withhold until the project was completed.
Are we able to hold that until after? I mean, is it the 100%? And they turn it in and we sign it off that project is 100%, then do they automatically get that, or can we hold that for future resolution discussion?
I don't believe that we can, because it's work completed and they're requesting additional funds for outside of the contract. So
But we
the,
disagree with that. Correct. Not outside the contract. It's everything was spelled in the contract. Everything they did was in the contract. They're asking for more money, but the work wasn't part of the contract.
so they're asking for more money that's not part of the contract and it's outside of that. But we already agreed, we're under contract with them to complete the work within these pay apps, including retainage. So if they complete the project 100%, we're honoring the contract by paying them out the retainage that they're owed. We are not under contract to pay them the 1.1 above and beyond that. So it's weird because we're talking about kind of two different things, like we so far have followed the contract, I think, very well. We have been very clear on it up until this, and not that we're not at this point either. So if we do the time extension and we pay them out, continuing to do that. Once they get 100%, we would release the retainage because they've done everything that the contract says they would. And then we're going to court for what they think should be amended or changed to the contract.
Right.
And we're saying no to that. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well.
You are cost just more than that, so. Yeah, everything above and beyond that.
Regardless, if we go to mediation or litigate, we're gonna have to pay this money.
Right, because this is all part of the contract that
That's
we
correct.
agreed to at this time.
And the combined 600,000, 182 plus the 426. Is part of the contract that we are obligated to pay. The question is, do we want to get reimbursed by USDA immediately? Or do we want to pay it from our sewer fund or not pay it at all.
All right, well, if we pay it out and then they'll make the project 100% complete, then we'll have to pay the retaining. What we estimate overages were like around 200,000, something like that for the days past final completion.
Yeah, I would have to double check my numbers on
Somewhere around
that,
there.
but yes, it was, I
So-
wanna say it was like 280, but I can pull that worksheet up again, and in fact, if you give me a second,
That would be the only way that I would vote to move forward is if we wanna get the substantial completion, get it 100% so that we can sign off and get the thing operating and whatnot, fine. But I think we should assess those fees. Again, that gives us something to take to the table later on if we need them.
Well, we can't go back and assess the fees. What we can do is say that instead of assessing the fees, we chose to give you an extension in good faith. Instead of assessing you $280,000 because you're that many days late in completing the project.
We can still sign off and assess the fees, correct? I think so, we could.
no,
No, it's an order.
Yeah, that's for that.
Okay. Option for me, option one is we go ahead with this 27 and 28. Because that's what has to be done. Because that's part of what we signed for our contract. Then we have the 182,000, and that they would still receive that because that's still part of what we signed for. Correct? So they get that, so they get the 27, 28 and the retainage. Because that's what we signed for.
Yep.
All right,
But the 182 only comes after 100% completion.
okay,
Past all inspections,
100%
no warranty work.
is where that 182 comes in, okay, and then. Mike, I'm thought I was following, but now I'm not following, so that's kind of what we're looking at. Then the other option is to go ahead and say. No, we're not gonna do the Act 27 and 28 and take that money out of the. Fund, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, if you don't approve the time
If
extension,
we don't do the time extension,
then we can't apply for reimbursement from USDA.
so we have to say, okay, the time extension.
That's right. So USDA would pay out 27 and 28.
USDA, please.
But that doesn't, but then that takes away our control to assess the damages, the 200-some thousand. Right, which is, again, feel like we dig ourselves into a deeper hole just by signing off.
But how can we not sign off? Does anybody have any answer? I mean.
I would say.
There,
If you don't want to approve that, I think you don't wait to assess all these, we say we're not approving this and we're assessing liquidated damages.
Yeah.
Which would be. And they would pay until the job is done, so they're gonna continue paying because it's not 100%,
they being USDA,
they being LaSalle.
they being LaSalle,
So
okay,
right now, there are 106, well, that's calendar days. We can only assess working days. So they're,
So you give them 27 and 28 plus the retainage at $608,827, some change.
right?
And we do technically owe them that. That's
Correct.
That's
But again,
part
if they're gonna
of
play hardball on the rest of it, then
that's where you're saying,
Well, they want another million on top of that.
yeah.
so if you guys choose to not approve this and assess liquidated damages. And I'd have to confirm this, but roughly right now we're at $82,000. At $1,000 a day, they would continue to be assessed $1,000 a day until the project's 100%. Which my guess is they're not going to pay that until we go to mediation or whatever happens. But we would
Still be.
invoice them or get something showing that that's what a letter saying, here's where you're at today. And then we'd assess that each day following.
Have you talked with?
Are we breaching the contract by not making a payment?
Yes, we would be. Yeah, that's why I'm saying everything in these payments is within the contract, like we are
Yeah.
obligated, we would be.
Yeah.
And that's, I do want to be very careful because we have followed the contract very.
And why would we reach it now?
Correct, but by you assessing liquidated damages and paying though, you're not, the contract says we have that authority. And again, I'm not saying that's the route you should go, but those are the options that we are faced with right now, so what do we do?
So we're darned if we do and darned if we don't.
Yep.
Correct, we are, yeah, you guys are faced with a very difficult decision right now, and it's. Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball to say this is gonna be the best decision, I think. What I would tell you guys is what is best for the village of Blissfield, and that's how you try to vote, and
Well, we entered into this contract.
We did.
We agreed to pay this sum of money for this scope of work. I fail to see a better reason not to pay than to pay. Like this project, it's unfortunate, it's not gone well, bad contractor, bad relationship, all that stuff, COVID, a number of different issues with the whole thing, but. From our perspective. We have not breached the contract one time.
We've played by the rules through the whole thing.
That's at the very least. That's our defense,
yeah, and I do very much agree with that.
at the very least. And it's tough to swallow $600,000 more of these guys, but. They have done the work. So we originally agreed to. If this project was on time and going well, would we have a problem?
No.
No. Because the work that has been performed. Has, for the most part. Been satisfactory, right?
Yeah,
Like even failing the electrical inspection that can be for a myriad of things.
and I will tell you that failing that electrical inspection, I do not think that's a LaSalle thing. I
It's
think
probably
that's,
subcontract.
I actually think that's a state thing, quite frankly, and we're actually gonna be sending them a letter because they've kind of changed their tune a few times here with that. So, and I, like, we did that blower, we've had some issues with that. They've responded very promptly to that. The mixer motor, the bearings went out on that, which is under warranty. They're addressing and working through all of that. So they are responding and taking care if there is anything. Other than that, knock on wood, wherever I think this is fake, things are running smoothly. And we are operating with the upgrades currently. The items that are remaining, like the painting, don't impact the actual operation.
Right.
But it's things that are in the initial contract that they need to complete because they said they would.
Yes.
So how much of this punch list from June 22nd is complete? Do we know?
I don't have an updated punch list from Pogemeyer, or I would have included that. So they have provided most of the documents. The cleaning is not done yet under the general. This lighting pack globes, that's completed. I'm not positive on that 3-year warranty. I'll have to double check that. I don't want to tell you guys wrong. They've got the warranty info for the glass. The other warranties have been submitted as well, and I think are still being reviewed by Pogemeyer. Sealed bolts. That was corrected. The cleaning, okay, so this is not done. The item above, I guess I thought that's what that was. Cleaning internal components is not completed. Crane is marked, roof inspection. I don't know. The leaks is fixed, the bolts fixed. Painting is not completed. The sealant is. Sludge well, I'm not sure on that either. I have to double check.
But again, they are continuing to make progress.
Yes,
Continuing to be responsive to get the plan fully operational.
yes. Yeah, a lot of this is done.
Well. I'd entertain a motion.
Seating and mulching.
Motion to approve change order 25 for a time only extension to June 22nd, 2023. And authorize the village administrator to execute all documents related to the change order on behalf of the governing body.
I'll support. And supported. Any additional comment, questions, concerns?
I just don't understand how we wouldn't be able to, or how we would have to sign off on those extensions, but then not go back after them. But it literally, we shoot ourselves in the foot for our contract. Correct.
Because once you grant the extension, you're saying you've agreed that their time is moved, so then their liquidated damages can only be assessed outside of the contract days.
So
So
after June
Anything
22nd.
from June 22nd.
yes,
So instead of going back another 2 or 3 weeks or months, we would only be able to come from June 22nd forward.
correct. If we got to that point and they didn't, they continue to go out. They are substantially complete though,
What did you say the daily rate was?
$1,000 per day. But you still have it as a tool, Mike, when we go to court. Because we can still, it's another thing, we did this, we did this, we did this. Yet you refuse to work with us or negotiate on this 1.1 that we feel you're entitled to $0 for. So we're bringing a lot to the table when we do go to mediation or litigation.
Now, these payouts were submitted prior to June 22nd. Is that correct?
The one is actually submitted in July, and that's for the work that was substantially complete. Aside from the retainage portion that we're holding for work that's not done. So USDA will process that because it's for that retainage payment or work completed.
Okay.
How would we have ever sought penalties or damages with the USD having to pay that? I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do both. That's my point. For the contract, right? That reads stupidly on our end.
So
because-
USDA will pay these applications if we show them that we extended or assess the LDs.
Right.
So if we assess those, they will still pay them.
So why would we not assess? I guess it's been my question the whole time.
Yeah, just purely negotiating when we go to mediation or court. Based on the 1.1 and additional money that they're looking to recoup from us. That's really all it is. We're trying to position ourselves in the best light. When we go to court to present our case that says we've been willing partners, we've worked as well as we could with you. We've done everything you've asked of us.
And that was my mentality too, until they came back and literally said thanks, but no thanks on the whole.
Well, we also offered them less than 25 cents.
Oh, they didn't even counter. I mean, literally they were unwilling to budge on that number.
Well, and it did come with a stipulation that they couldn't go after any additional monetary compensation. Man, it was. I like the offer, but they didn't. So. Well, you want to see how the vote goes? All right, Lisa, call
Tim,
it. Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
No.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James,
Nope. Well, passes. All right. Moving on. Action item number 4. Approve the water line engineering.
No, you're still on. That was wishful thinking.
Oh, did I jump to ordinance number 3?
We'll get through this.
You missed 1 and 2.
I did miss mine too. I guess I scrolled down too far. Sorry. All right, action item number 1, approve payroll. Any questions about payroll?
Move to approve the payroll register for July 2023 in the amount of $144,053.17.
Support.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes. Thank you. New business item number 2, accounts payable. Any questions about the bills?
I move to approve the accounts payable for the period of July 12th, 2023 to August 15th, 2023 in the amount of $628,386.49.
I'll support.
Thank you, Lisa.
Hold on, I do,
Oh,
sorry.
You do have questions?
Hate to drag this out, I apologize, but a lot of water refunds to refunds. And a lot of these, just because I know the name are like very old accounts, right? People that have passed or
Yes.
long ago. Number 1, why so long? And then number 2, like what are the different, some are like a code 71, the water deposit refund, you've got water usage, which is code 10. Water deposit code 72, sewer usage, so. What's the, I guess, the disparity in those are the difference?
So the deposit would be if they were a renter and they had placed a deposit on their account and then paid their bill and that deposit sitting there. The usage is they had the credit on the actual bill, correct, Brandon? So like their, whatever their usage or read was for that month, that they had that credit on there. So Brandon has been working on this kind of as time permits, or he has some spare time. And he did do quite a bit of work this month, which is why there's some of those on there. And we are required, even though we know that some of these people have actually passed on or are no longer here, we're required to attempt to submit payment to them. So we issue the check knowing that it's probably going to come back and not clear. And then once we go through our process, we're able to then submit that to the state as unclaimed property, but they won't accept it until we go through every step of the process in an effort to get that credit cleared first.
Give me an example of a water usage that somebody would have a credit on their bill. For water usage versus a sewer usage. I guess I get the deposit, obviously.
So it would have just been that they overpaid. So, and I don't know, because a lot of these are old, that maybe they could have said, okay, we're moving out and we estimated their bill and the actual read came in lower than their estimated bill. So that would have given them a credit. What other scenarios would there be for, I know there's a few.
Essentially paid by their every check we can with the utility company. Or they may be a total payment that you can pay. It's not times they, oh, the Chinese companies coming to hands and we keep it, and they know. The most common which you see in the society is the security differences. Some of them are not results of technical payments, but the majority come from the budget.
What's a sewage usage versus a water use? Is that because they're actually split on the newer type bills? It's not the older bills where it was all one?
Yeah, yes, Mike.
Yes.
Because when we split those now, nothing intermingles, so it will, even though they may have been one in the past when that bill was active, because it's separate now, that's how the accounting and the BSNA software
Even
identifies
though
it.
they're old accounts.
Correct, yes.
Yes, that kind of clarifies it. Okay. Thank you.
Sutton. Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jane.
Yes, thank you. Okay, new business, number 3, amending chapter 150 water supply and sewage disposal system. We had a hearing. No public comment was entered. Discuss this at length. Fire. So,
Move council to approve the ordinance amending chapter 150 water supply sewer disposal system to allow for staff authorized fee waivers within the parameters set forth in the amendment.
Work.
It's for any comment or further discussion. No, Lisa?
Bill,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James.
Yes, thank you. All right, action item number 4. This is actually pretty exciting.
Well, regarding that one real quick, can we continue to get updates if people are still questioning this whole unit situation and if that sort of remedies the issue?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's gonna be questions.
Hopefully.
Hopefully there's an out.
Makes it clearer.
Hopefully for everyone. All right, so this is exciting. Number 4, the water line, the engineering. Put these ARPA funds to use. Anybody have any questions on this?
No, but I'll move to approve the agreement with Manning Smith for engineering of the Ellis Park Clara Bachmeyer water line project in the amount of $38,300.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. So I see in the photo where the approximate water line is.
That's the approximate relocation,
That's it, okay.
not where the current.
So,
line is.
so it'll be a new line from South Monroe all the way under the river.
Correct. So we will have to keep that line active until this new line is installed because it feeds that side of town.
Is that the line that feeds the whole west side of town?
Yes,
Wow,
It's a big deal.
yes.
that's a huge,
Really big.
yeah.
I'm glad we're doing it.
All right. Just before I lay this to rest, I just want people to understand that. What? 5-6 years ago now, this project was estimated to be about $100,000. So I know it's not a bright, shiny, glamorous project, but if we wait another 4 or 5 years, this will easily be $400,000 or $500,000.
And it's estimated at 250.
Yeah, so so you've got 150% inflation on this in the last 5 to 6 years. So I know this isn't glamorous, but people on the west side of the river definitely deserve clean water, so.
I also think it should be noted that this line under the river is about 100 years old, if not more.
90 something.
90 something, okay, so it's an old line, services the whole west side of town, and as it sat on private property. So, the council's thought was to get it back onto our property and on the park side of things. So if anybody wants to redevelop that corner at South Monroe and 223, and by gosh, I hope they do, that will not be on that private property any longer.
Any other comments, concerns? Okay, Lisa.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James.
Yes, thank you. Action item number 5, approve box seal change order. Pretty straightforward, it just they missed it.
Yeah, so I guess just a little bit of a summary. So this is the first time that we've done a fog seal project in Blissfield. I guess we're learning, I don't know, it is in the spec to include the sealant on top. We thought was very clear. And speaking with the contractor, we put it, the way that it's listed, the order on the bid sheet is different than how they actually apply it. So he's saying because of that, he read it wrong. I've changed the order for in the future if we choose to do a fog seal project again to try to alleviate this. The contractor did state that he does want to work with the village. He regardless if you guys approve this or not, he is going to do the work. In fact, North Lane, I'm sorry, was done today. And they have some more to come back and clean up in some of the driveways there, but the total cost, additional cost is $15,000 with labor and material, and the contractor is just asking for the material cost to cover this. I will say again, I do think it's very clearly in the spec. I do think that it makes sense to work with this contractor. I do think it was an honest mistake. I don't have a reason to believe otherwise. And we are still getting the product that we wanted. They were the only bidder. And I would imagine we probably still would have moved forward with the project. But if you guys have questions, let me know. And it would be within our budget as well.
They did just finish on the way by, so quick and well, so they're working on it well.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were gonna get those done today, so.
I don't know how you misunderstand the difference between a fog seal, quote, and a chip seal, but I mean, that contractor should know that, but I agree, it's 100 times better than something the county has been doing. It's much better, it holds down that loose gravel. It's something that we wanted to try out, that Brett recommended it. I think it's 100% better than just the stone base, which rips off later on.
Move council to approve the change order for fog seal on amount of $7,500. Support.
Moved and supported. I'll just say it's refreshing when a contractor admits a mistake. Go ahead, Lisa.
Harry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James.
Yes, thank you. Action item number 6, consideration of an aquatic center membership adjustment.
So I tried to put some information in the agenda for you guys, but if you have other questions, let me know.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Do we keep track of how many times families have used their membership out there?
I do have the ability to pull a report for any membership, anybody that has a membership at the pool. I have to do that individually. And it would tell me how many times throughout the summer they've gone.
Well, yeah, I guess I'd like to know that.
I know it's unfortunate, there should never time that we want to be closed for 2 weeks, or whatever, that people can't utilize school, especially what we paid, to build it and operate it. But again, it's much like the stupid cable TV, you know, unfortunately, you never get a credit on that sort of thing either. If we had those lawyers, you know, they probably laugh. But, you know, it's an unfortunate thing. We're doing preventative measures to keep this from happening again. We've got a spare pump on hand now, so hopefully we'll never have to go through this situation again. It's just an unfortunate circumstance, I think. You know, we've done things in the past to try to help out the community. Last year, we, you know, did some free days, whatnot, so. It's a break even, or, you know, you break even on a family membership after only 6 days. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but it's one that was kind of beyond our control.
It is unfortunate, and I still think there's a lot of value in a membership, even if they were not able to use it for 16 days.
Are we gonna run this membership sale again this year?
That'll come before you guys for consideration again and see if that's something that you want to do. So last year, we ran the sale 2 years now. Last year, we did try something a little bit new where we did a staggered discount. So they got the first week 20%, 15%, and then ultimately 10%. We had 38 memberships with the 20% and one with the 15%, and nobody at the 10% week. So I don't know if we will want to do that again or do something, so maybe just say 15% for this time frame. I'm not sure, but I was going to bring something before you guys for that. I do think it's just a good incentive to get people to sign up earlier, and it can be a good Christmas gift for a family as well. However, if you guys grant a waiver now, I would probably not recommend it.
I'm not looking for a waiver at all on this, either for the reasons that have been given. Danielle's background brief with things, and I'm concerned about the precedent that it could set, as well as we have done in kind and some other avenues, and it's come back to bite us in the butt. And I think that this could lend itself to other situations, so I would recommend a motion on this at this time.
I would agree with that. All right. I will entertain a motion at this time, if so willing, so moved. Hearing none, I think all this dies on the floor. Is that correct, Daniel?
Correct, yes.
Moving on to action item number 7.
I'll move to approve the contractors pay app number 27 in the amount of $49,178.07, and pay app number 28 in the amount of $377,089.09 in connection with the Village of Blissfield WWTP project upgrade, and authorize the village administrator to execute all documents related to this payment.
I'll support. Moved and supported. All right, after lengthy discussion, is there any more?
And the only way we can pay for this is by the USDA funding it, because obviously we don't have that money. And the only way the USDA will fund it once again is because we approved that change order. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Really, there's nothing else to say about it.
you know, what was the that's the reason I voted no. I was the June 22nd. What was that date? Why that date?
That's the substantial completion date
Okay.
that was approved by the engineers and USDA.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't want to go any further than we absolutely had to.
Okay. Makes more sense. All right. We have a motion. Any other discussion?
Who seconded that? Or was, okay, thank you.
Gwen made the motion. Lisa, if you will.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes,
Jerry,
Yes,
Gwen,
Yes.
James.
Yes, thank you. Number 8 should be an easy one. Resolution recommending approval of special liquor license for Yuletide.
I'll move to approve the resolution recommending approval of the special liquor license for the Yuletide event to be held in downtown Blissfield on South Plain Street on November 10th through 12th, 2023.
I'll support that.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Eric. Any discussion on this? No. This began those dates, November 10th through 12th. Lisa?
Bill,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes,
Gwen,
Yes,
James,
Yes. Thank you. Similar type motion for Blissfield Wassel Fest.
move to approve the resolution recommending approval of the special liquor license for the Wattsville event to be held in downtown Blissfield on December the 8th, 2023.
I'll support.
And support, any discussion on this one? Did I say Wassel Fest? It's not, it should be a fest.
It is Wassel Fest.
It is Wassel. Oh, okay, I got it right there. Lisa?
Gary,
Yes.
Eric,
yes,
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Gwen,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
James,
Yes. Thank you. On to the reports. Any questions for the treasurer? Even though we don't have a library representative, is there any questions or comments on the library reports?
yes.
Just wondered why they went into closed session.
That was the question I was thinking. So Danielle, how does that work? I know that their board and things like that are separate, but I understand with our closed sessions, we have to give a rationale of reason to do that. Do they not have to do that, you know?
They should identify that, yes.
Okay, as well.
Yeah. Do we identify that in our meeting minutes? We do,
Yes.
don't we?
So
Yeah.
typically your motion indicates that you're going into closed session at whatever time for
Potential
MCL.
litigation.
Right, and you
Purchase of
identify the,
property.
yeah,
Yeah, it may be something they just need to learn, but again, we need to follow.
I didn't know who would,
Yeah.
is that something, Danielle, you share that with them and say, didn't know if you knew, or did the attorney do that, or how does that?
I'm more than happy to share that with them.
It would be appreciated if they would follow those rules.
Yeah, well, text them from OMA and, I mean, they can amend their minutes to.
Well, that's a
include
good
that,
point,
but-
amendment.
But they have to be discussing something that falls along those.
That much.
those two sections.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm. I'm not noticing, I know I've taken a brief look at the, our budget meeting, taking place next week. I've taken a very brief look at things. And, I know that, the library has made their request, and I'm seeing, our comments. Well, let me restate Danielle's suggestion, recommendation. With that, maybe I missed something. Did you guys see anything on here regarding millage or finances coming in, Brandon? Have you noticed any finances coming into the library from Riga or Palmyra for money's coming in?
They have not communicated any of them.
I don't think they're at that stage yet.
Well, I was kind of wondering
Yeah.
if anything has been coming in yet.
So they did attend an Ogden Township Board meeting last month.
Okay,
I had someone tell me that. Cause they gave me heck for it. Well, you know, why are you guys doing this to the library? And I said, well, we're not doing anything. They should be self-sufficient too. So,
Well, I think the next
It's-
potential vote would be the November 2024 vote.
well,
Would it not?
some of the quick, my understanding is it can be a discussion with them going to Ogden and going to Palmyra, and saying we do support your residents, and they don't have to necessarily have a millage for that. They can action those monies from those communities, just like they ask for our money from us. There can certainly be a millage, and that can be down the road, but my understanding was the discussion for asking for monies like I don't know, right, I mean, it's like
Appropriation.
thank you, the appropriations, just like they ask us for appropriations, they can be asking the other communities for those appropriations. They could have done that for this year's budget for them. Does that make sense, James?
It does, but I thought if they moved from a village to, what's the next level? Then
District.
Then they could ask for the money. I didn't think they could until then.
No,
No,
they can,
there's
yeah, they,
monies at the township level that they can ask for now.
Correct, they can ask for appropriations now. If they go district, the townships would be required to contribute their portion. Right now, it's about council or
It's
not council, townships can say yes or no.
and so that was, and just, I'm sure we're gonna have more discussion next week, but that was one of the understandings that was presented, and I want you to hear that, because you weren't part of the team at that time, but that was part of our discussion was, them visiting the other communities and asking for those
We had the
monies
same discussion.
for your township.
Yeah. So I'm kind of aware of it.
So I didn't see anything like that coming in as of yet. It doesn't state anything into their minutes that has been discussed. So I was wondering if perhaps I missed something and you guys thought maybe they had that discussion. I just didn't see it.
It's not in their minutes.
Okay. That was my only comment about the library. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Anybody have anything for council discussion?
I'd just like to throw out there to DDA and whoever else was involved in the mini park over here. It looks nice, the chairs, the benches, or the tables and the, yeah, it looks nice. It's gonna be a nice little meeting space.
Yeah. Barrett Dvorsky from Duart here has done an incredible job on that mural.
There was no grass growing underneath their feet when they got right on that project, and it's great. Great. I want to say something for council discussion, and I just want you guys to know that Danielle has been working and her team. I want to make sure Lisa and Brandon and share with the other folks in the office have been working very, very diligently for the Parks and Recreation for all of the events taking place. It is hot and heavy, the summer / going into the fall. And Danielle, thank you. I know that there's been a lot of discussion regarding games and coaches and equipment, etc. Danielle had the opportunity, and the material has been looked at thoroughly. The first aid kit, all those questions that we had last year have been addressed, and they've been addressed by Danielle and her team. The equipment have been cleaned. Helmets that were no longer within the time frame of being usable have been taken care of. Pennies have been washed. Material has been gathered. And again, Danielle, kudos to you and your team, seriously, because without you guys doing all that, these events would not be, these programs would not be taking place. So Brandon and Lisa, seriously, thank you. And Danielle, thank you very much. From Parks and Rec. We meet tomorrow, Parks and Rec we do, and we will definitely be discussing, the next step towards the program director and things like that. So.
Stacy too.
And Stacy as well, I mean, the rest of the crew, I should have.
So don't want her to feel excluded.
No, I said rest of the Stacy, you too. Yeah, okay, absolutely. And it's been a big help. So thank you, Daniel.
Is there any update on the new helmets they ordered? There was
I don't know.
Yeah, they're in. So most of the kids have helmets. We had a couple kiddos that the helmet fit the top of their head, but they weren't fitting the jaw area. So we actually ordered some wider, and I'm probably not calling them the correct name either, I apologize, wider jawbone pads that go within the helmet so that it doesn't move side to side. And our volunteer coaches have been awesome with helping. They did the equipment handout. I did show up, but I really just mostly talked to people. I didn't help too much. Helped a couple of kids find some pants, but we're doing good on equipment. We did get new pants in today. We're still waiting on the girdles that have the pads built in. But otherwise, and those should be here any day this week.
And the first aid equipment is all up to date.
Yes, we did need to get a couple balls as well. We had to order some new flags, which partially was because our flag football program this year, we have 6 teams for 3rd, 4th grade and 4 for 1st, 2nd grade. We last year had 4 of each. And of course, there's only 4 colors of flags. So we had to order some backups in case the teams need to switch when they're playing each other. But yeah, it's been going really well. We did clean out the sheds. Which was a task in itself. The one shed took about 4 hours. The other two took about 2 hours each. It was a lot, but it looks really good. We've been getting really good feedback and help, and I see like, not even just at the office, but we've had some people really step up and help. Emily Lohr with the school, she's the high school soccer coach, girls soccer coach. Her and Kelly, yes, thank you, have stepped up and have helped. We're going to do a coaches meeting with the soccer coaches this year and give them some resources. I had all but one flag football volunteer coach before registration ended. And the other one, I got the day registration ended. And they've kind of stepped up and helped with scheduling. So it's not just, the office staff has been great, but it's also the volunteers that have really stepped up to help and make sure that these things are running smoothly and are moving forward for the kids.
And the adult softball teams, as you've alluded to, have increased from 5 teams up to 11 teams.
18.
18, my apologies, I don't want to get 11, sorry, the 18.
Yeah, it's 5 last year, we have 8 this year, so we actually had to extend softball so that everybody would get fair play time. Otherwise, they all had far too many 5 weeks, but they were all good with that, and that schedule is out. They start this Thursday.
It's nice work, oh, nice. So Parks and Rec, thanks to the great staffing, is going great guns, and it's so nice to be able to say that.
Yeah, and I have to give a shout out to Parks and Rec and the staff for the Blissfield on Tap. Saturday was a huge success. How many years in a row have we held that? Is that the 4th, 5th year?
Since 2018.
So
We had 1 year we missed because of COVID.
a lot of great comments about it being in the parks. So.
Yeah.
Well done. Anything else for council discussion?
Yeah, the wage comparison charts, we have ready to go for the budget meeting and whatnot, and
Yes, I actually got the final report today from MML. I'm going to be sending that out to you guys, and then I'm waiting for, we had some changes that I worked with Jeff with MML last week. He got those done. And then I'm gonna be working with him because I would like him to come present to you guys, because I can do it probably, but I would be fumbling through, and he really, this is what he does. He solely does these and can answer questions and things like that. So I'm hoping that I would love to have him be able to attend during a budget work session because it ties so closely to that.
Yeah,
But I do want to share that final report now that I have it with all of the staff as well and give them a chance to look at it. So more information will be coming out.
yeah, if you could be there Monday, that'd be great. I know it's short notice, but man, if you could hop in Monday, that'd be ideal.
Yeah,
does your proposed budget include changes on to, we kind of throw it out there, or there will be more?
I thought that I had it, but based on the final report today, they are recommending a slight adjustment, so I will have to incorporate that. I will incorporate it.
And then more this week or whatever, you'll piece together the rest of it, like the cover letters and kind of explanations on budgets, whatnot, for us for Monday.
No, I was not planning to have that ready for Monday. I was planning to have that ready for you guys following those by the end of the month. I was going to get it ready and give you your binders for when it comes to you for adoption, because I was just going to focus on the budget right now and not all of the extra additional things. That's how I did it last year as well. So I was planning on doing it that same way.
All right. Any other comment?
Well, I guess just, I'm not quite sure, Mike, what you were asking for, because what I'm seeing, it looks like it can answer kind of the questions I was looking for. Is there something that you were looking for? I just sort of, because I thought that was pretty good, but if there's a,
What's pretty good, just the
well, we
charts.
can see just the chart, I mean, how it's chunked
Yeah,
out.
I know, so and I guess correct me if Mike if you're wrong, I think he's referring to kind of like the additional, normally. When you guys get the final budget book, it has. And I did do that a little different last year too, we listed like goals, accomplishments for each of the departments, there's a letter. From an administrator's letter kind of summarizing the position of the village. I've started working on all of that, but I did not plan on having it at the work sessions. I can try to get some of it done, but I don't know that I'll be able to finalize all of that. If there's something specific, let me know and I will have it there for you guys.
It just makes it a challenge to, throw out water rates, for example. Let's talk about, we need to know what we're taking in. A little bit of a summary helps us judge, what kind of equipment we're gonna need, what's coming down the pipe. Literally, all we have is a chart, of money. It doesn't really explain purchases and,
But what-
infrastructure
It
improvements.
has numbers down there for the capital, you're saying like specific capital projects?
Well, we have a week to get that addressed, right?
Well, that's, I mean, that's,
Right, we're back in a week to
Yeah, but-
start that.
well, but Mike is looking for something a little bit different than what Danielle was able to produce and that's, I mean, I think what we're giving here is sufficient to get our discussion going. That's how I'm looking at it.
And again, I was planning on finalizing those after because those. It's like supplemental information. What I did in the past was I included like. Kind of a summary of our projected revenues compared to our expenditures, what maybe some of our challenges are going into. Like specifically in this current budget year, I identified inflation is going to be a challenge for us and how do we address that? I identified revenue streams and how do we, is there a way to increase or change those? So it's kind of based on what you guys, what we have as the final budget as well. I'll provide whatever you guys need, you just need to let me know. But I don't typically do. So the way, and again, I can do this different, but I thought last year was pretty successful. I was gonna go through each of we'll start with general fund or whatever fund you guys want, we'll go through the revenues and then kind of we'll do like a brief, this is our keep the lights on, operate, provide the same level of service. And then a majority of our work will be spent on the capital project items. From there was kind of my idea this year again. But yeah, if you want anything specific, let me know and I will bring it Monday or get it on the agenda.
All right, I'll open it up for public comment. Public comment after the meeting. Seeing none, we have the committee of the whole preview. We just covered. Again, if any information you need. Try to get with Danielle before that, just so we can dive right into the first budget work session. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Are we expecting like a 2-hour session? Is that what we're thinking, like on Monday? Is that what you're thinking, Danielle? Do you have anything?
I do think we should not go past that because I think we started like it.
Okay, so figure
Yeah.
7 to 9.
So I had scheduled the 3 days and we'll just use all three, or if we get done on the second day, then we'll cancel the third was kind of my plan,
But it's
which is what we did last year as well.
So I just want to make sure.
Yeah, otherwise it just gets to be too much to look at it if we go past that.
Give or take 2 hours.
Yeah, okay.
Is that tour gonna be public or just council of the wastewater treatment plant?
It's an open meetings, so we're required to have it public. I will say that it would be nice not to have too many, just because it will make it harder to actually give the tour, and that following the council tour, if somebody or the residents want to go out there, we will schedule tours with them as well. And that way people don't miss out on things that are shared or shown, things like that. But yes, you can come to that.
Get in line early.
I know where it's
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Jerry. Support. Bill, Lisa.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
James.
Yes. Next meeting, August 28th. Meeting adjourned.
Here, almost here.